Welcome to the Voice of Reason. I'm Dr. Len Sabuto here with Francesco Garapoli. Hey,
Hey,
Francesco,
Len.
how you doing?
Good to see you. Fantastic.
Listen, we've learned some good things from COVID-19, but we're mostly talking about things that are challenges. And maybe we should be looking at the bright side of the things we've learned as this disaster has hit us. For example, we've got more quality time together. We can be more creative about how we do that. We spend more
Sure.
time online with our work and school. The air is cleaning up. Those are all good things.
It's funny that people notice that there's less planes in the air. I was just talking to United Airlines manager. I had to cancel a flight, of
Uh-huh.
course, like many people. And they said they are 80% below capacity.
Wow.
That means only 20% of their thousands of planes that fly a day are in the air.
Well,
So I think
look at the air quality too.
exactly. So we look
You
up
know,
in the sky and we've become so sensitized to plane after plane going over. And all of a sudden now that sound and that image isn't there. It's fascinating.
remember the pictures of Wuhan? Before the smoke there and the pollution is horrible. And when the air got cleaned up, it was a beautiful city.
Quickly, very quickly, the earth responds so fast. And it reminds us that, we can make a change. Everybody's talking about climate change and the environment, carbon footprint and so forth. It's taken something like this to shut down the machine, so to speak. That all of a sudden we see the quick effects on Mother Earth.
It gives you a little hope.
Gives
You
you a
know,
lot of hope, and hopefully it gives people a sense of, wow, we can make a difference. None of this is an accident. None of this is not without a deep lesson for us to all to learn.
well, it's sometimes it's difficult to appreciate that, especially when you can't look at the good side of it. But as we're talking about some of these good things, it refreshes me, so I have confidence again. And of course I do anyway, because the spiritual way that I look at things and that you look at things really are important, because that's what happens. That's what a lot of this is about.
When you get pushed to your edge, you have to take on a new view. It just, you have to. You get challenged at the deepest places. I watch people in lines. Many times we stand in line in a store, a big box store, something, 5, 6 people in line. No one talks to each other.
Yeah, right.
All of a sudden now people are talking, of
Yeah.
course, 2 meters away, but there's a sense of a play and honor. You're wearing your mask, you have your distance, but people are curious because they realize we're all in this together.
That's right. It's building community, and being in it together is the key. If we could remember that as we go through our daily lives and felt that way about our work and things that happen in the community, not just when a disaster happens. We're good at coming together when there's a disaster. If there's a tsunami or earthquake, we can't get down to help people out fast enough. We fly in supplies. It's all over the news. We're trying to find ways to support these people because we want to. We feel that connection, that thing that holds and binds us together. The community is a wonderful thing.
And our spirituality gets woken up in challenges. And spirituality doesn't necessarily mean your religion, right? Whether you're Christian or Jew or Muslim, it doesn't matter.
Right.
The spirituality behind that comes out. And we have to look at each other as our brother and sister. I mean, it has to happen when we get pushed. That's why we're seeing tension now of people saying, I can't be with my friends. Maybe
Mm.
those friendships that they had taken for granted for a long time.
Well, I think apps like Zoom and Skype and the telephone are just being used like crazy. People are starting to find time. They're making time to be able to make those connections that before we were just preoccupied with things that, for the most part, don't have that much meaning in our lives. It's about work. It's about doing the everyday things that we do and doing them the best we can. It's about making money. And now that a lot of that has changed and we're having so much trouble doing the things we did before, it's an awakening call. It tells us there are other ways to spend time besides trying to make money so that we have more things, more responsibilities, because actually our things own us. And it frees us up when we can be in a place where we're trying to just be with the ones that we love and with our friends.
Exactly. I have 6 sisters, and my youngest sister has 2 beautiful girls. She had to go on furlough at work as a
Mhm.
physical therapist because she had to be home with the girls. she couldn't leave them there. There's homeschooling issues.
Right.
She says now one of the positives of this, because I asked, what's one of the positive of these experiences? One, of course, spending more quality time with her two little girls, my beautiful nieces, but also an appreciation for what teachers go through all day, taking care of 30 kids in a classroom.
Right.
So
Yeah.
don't you think that's going to help something deep when we start finding more gratitude in things that we didn't really think about before?
Well, for sure. It's one of the big inherent things that we human beings have. You know, we want to connect with people. We want to share and give and love, but we get into a world where it's more about power and it's about having stuff. And so when we're done, our epitaph will say, well, he had two cars or she had two cars and they had a place in the hills that it was, you know, a resort to go to. They took vacations, but what's it saying about the real stuff in life? The things that we should be teaching our kids in school about community and how to support one another, how to love one another. Uh, that doesn't get taught. And we wind up with a lot of brainy people who are scientists and doctors and lawyers. And it's not building the community we want, even though it's building a way that we live that taxes us. It takes away from our spirituality. It takes away from the caring. It's taken the caring out of healthcare even.
And you've
Maybe
always
the
said
healthcare
that.
system will change.
This is one of the big questions. Will any of these beautiful things that are happening in people now sustain when they're not forced to happen? And this is when we really get the depth of integrity, when we have change that happens on a really deep core level. And I hope people think about this, because you might want to mention about what happens to a person physiologically when that spiritual world and the physical world are in harmony.
Oh, it's beautiful. I mean, the hormones are in balance. All the flight or flight response disappears. We get more in a place where we care about what's happening to people on the other side of the world. We want to get rid of the diseases and the hunger and the problems that we could solve today if we just wanted to. Just look at how much money we're spending now. Something like $6 trillion to get the economy back on its feet in this country. And it's not going to do that much, really, because it's not enough. But look at what we could do with that money to feed the people that don't have food in the world, or to make it possible to get the homeless off the street. All these things that we don't think about because we're so consumed with things that affect us personally, because we're afraid. We have this fear of not having enough. It's a fear of being deprived. When we get past that and we realize that it's not that narcissistic approach that's so important, it's the approach that has to do with building community, going back to the village, where we all are working together, trying to support one another so that we can find the connection, that human connection that's so important.
Yeah. And isn't it interesting that this whole COVID-19 situation came at the end of a massive political months and actually years of conflict, where Democrats and Republicans were fighting against each other.
Yeah.
And on a world stage, America looked like a drama unfolding that was from a bad TV show.
Yeah, really.
You know, and leaders set the tone for people. So all of a sudden our country got more and more and more divided. And how curious that this virus situation came at a time where all of a sudden the pendulum reached that limit, and all of a sudden now we're coming back and thinking what it means to be together.
It's such a wake-up call, and it's such an opportunity. It's easy to look at the stuff that we don't have, but that's the lesson. The lesson is that a lot of the stuff that we do have doesn't make any difference. I mean, do you really want to have billions of dollars and have the responsibility of knowing what to do with it? And is it really the material things or the power that makes you happy? We could go back to working on the family, the family unit. And now that we're in quarantine, basically, with our families, we're going back to the kinds of things that we did before we were married, where we're interested in developing a relationship with somebody and marrying them and raising a family. And it's a whole lot different when we're in that state of mind than we're in the usual state of mind that says, I got to go to work, I got to bring home the bacon, my wife's going to do what she wants to do with the material things in the world, I'm going to send my kids to the best school. And what it got us where we are. That's the real message. It got us where we are. And do we want to be there?
It's a time to reevaluate. I think it's really a time to reevaluate your values. What means something to you? When you're at home, you're forced to have quiet time to think. Most people, when they're run by that survival mind, working, as you say, all the time just for money and for something that they feel like they have to do, they have very little time to meditate. Very little time. And when I say meditate, I don't mean formal meditate. I think that Marcus Aurelius version of meditate, to quiet yourself for a few minutes and really reflect on your life and what's important. We
Exactly.
don't have that time. Normally, we don't have that time, Len. All of a sudden, now people are being forced to look at that. I think it's beautiful. Really.
You're right. Well, look at how they're spending their money. You know, they're not going out shopping for a new car or for a boat or for
Sure.
some kind of thing that they don't really need.
Right.
It's
Many
about
times, yeah.
how do you get through this thing together? How do you build the community of your family back and start getting along? And for some people, it's a big problem because there were
But
so many things that were destroyed in the wonderful relationship they started with that they have to rebuild all that now, and it's not easy. It can be frustrating and scary.
yeah, but valuable at the end. If people can take this courageously and peel off the anger, peel off the fear and the blame, and get to a place where they say, okay, what could be good here? What's the silver lining behind this? It sounds kind of cliche, but
Love it.
it's not just positive thinking. It's critical survival, actually.
Absolutely.
And when you could say, what is good? Hey, I'm spending more time with my partner. Hey, this quiet time to be reflective. I've thought about a few things that are important to me. These are quotes from people who have talked to me. I saw a guy in the neighborhood today putting up a hammock between two trees. He said he'd been wanting to do that for 5 years.
That's great.
This is reality. This is
Well,
reality.
what we need is a voice of reason, something that will have us take a look at how we're spending our lives. I think we should be thinking about what we want our epitaph to say and use that as a target to aim for. If we could
Yeah.
do that, the world would be a different place. Anyway, thank you all for listening. We'll be back on A Voice of Reason again tomorrow. Take care.